Here's what to know about movies coming out this month. Welcome to Movies Ahead. In our first weekend of June, we've got 3 releases. Masters of the Universe is the newest adaptation of the story of He-Man, which rose to popularity in the 80s. It was one of those media franchises created to sell toys, similar to Transformers. The animated series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe only ran for 2 years, but reruns played through most of the 80s, and it was one of the most popular animated shows at the time.
I can't remember when I've had a more pleasant day.
So much so that they made a live-action movie in 1987 starring Dolph Lundgren. The director previously did Bumblebee and Kubo and the Two Strings. Power Ballad stars Paul Rudd as a wedding singer who spends a night with the member of a boy band that used to be popular, played by Nick Jonas. The wedding singer shares some of his songs only to see the boy band guy turn them into hits.
Been toying with this one for years.
Yeah, I like that.
It's my song.
The director and co-writer is known for Sing Street and Once. Scary Movie is the 6th film in the franchise, but it's kind of being viewed as the 3rd movie, a spiritual sequel to Scary Movie 1 and 2. The reason for that is because the Wayans family had most of the creative control on those first 2 movies, but left the series after a falling out with the producers. The 6th movie is the first time they've returned to the franchise since 2001. The first Scary Movie was released in 2000 and was primarily a parody of Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And this one is following that format, primarily spoofing the modern Scream movies, but mixing in references to as many recent horror movies as possible.
Sink into the chair.
For the next weekend, starting June 12th, we've got 3 more movies. Disclosure Day is the latest movie from the legendary director Steven Spielberg. And just in case you didn't know, he's the guy that made Jaws, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, Minority Report, Ready Player One, and many more. And this movie is being viewed as a return to the kinds of movies Spielberg became known for with films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., and War of the Worlds. It's a sci-fi thriller about characters trying to uncover a massive government conspiracy, which has kept the truth hidden from everyone, that we aren't alone in the universe.
This 79-year terror campaign of lies has to end.
Stop That Train is a disaster comedy that takes place in a very heightened, almost fantasy version of reality. The story follows 2 stewardesses working on the Glamazonian Express trying to help the crew and passengers survive a storm that has caused the train to malfunction. It stars a ton of comedians alongside famous drag queens such as RuPaul, who plays the president.
You just got a presidential address.
The director's previous movies include Hairspray and A Walk to Remember. The Furious is an English-language movie that originated in Hong Kong. It follows a man whose daughter has been abducted and he has to fight his way through waves of bad guys to get her back. It's a hyper-violent, stylized action movie with some people comparing it to The Raid. And on to the weekend of June 19th. Leviticus is an Australian movie that's a blend between a teen romance and a horror movie. 2 teenage boys realize that they're being stalked by some kind of supernatural entity that appears as whatever you desire most. But since they're in a relationship, the entity keeps appearing to them as each other.
Ryan? You okay?
The Death of Robin Hood is the newest A24 movie from the same writer and director who did A Quiet Place Day 1 and Pig. He's also the director who's going to be directing the adaptation of the video game Death Stranding, also for A24. This movie is an adaptation of an English ballad written in the 1600s called Robin Hood's Death. Hugh Jackman plays the famous character in a story that takes us to the end of his life and aims to paint a different picture than the one we're familiar with.
He was not a hero. You were a murderous brigand.
Girls Like Girls is written and directed by Hayley Kiyoko, who is adapting her own book and song. In 2015, she released a song of the same name, and the music video went viral, primarily being spread on Tumblr. She turned the story into a book in 2023 and now a movie.
You kissed me. I guess I'm just like that with all my friends.
Toy Story 5 is exactly what it claims to be, as the 5th movie in the series that started all the way back in 1995 and launched Pixar as a studio. It is co-written and directed by Andrew Stanton, who is a Pixar veteran, having directed Finding Nemo and WALL-E and more. In this story, the toy's new kid, Bonnie, has started to become more interested in her tablet, known as Lilypad. The toys once again face the existential threat of being tossed aside for something that's newer and better. And while it's still an ensemble movie, it looks like Jessie is stepping forward as the primary character in this one.
Bonnie still needs us. Come on, Bullseye!
And on to our final weekend of the month, Jackass. Jackass Best and Last is the 5th and final movie in the Jackass franchise. And just in case you didn't know, these movies do not have a story. It's a group of friends led by Johnny Knoxville performing very painful, often disgusting, challenges or stunts for the sake of comedy.
If you're gonna be dumb, you got
As the cast is now quite a bit older, they're claiming that this is the last movie. And with the title, Best and Last, it seems like it's going to be a mix of new material, along with clips from the older movies as a kind of highlight reel. And our final movie is Supergirl. This is the 2nd major theatrical film in the newly rebooted DCU, or DC Cinematic Universe. The first movie was last year's Superman, where we were briefly introduced to the main character of this movie. Supergirl, or Kara Zor-El, is Superman's cousin. In most versions of the story, she was actually sent to help protect and guide Superman when he was a baby. But her space pod is knocked off course, so when she finally lands on Earth, baby Superman Superman is already full-grown Superman and she has no purpose. Because of this, she's a much more jaded character compared to Superman's extremely optimistic and hopeful outlook.
Here's the thing. My cousin and I have very different ideas about what it means to be a hero.
The director is known for I, Tonya and Cruella. And that wraps up our movies for June. What movies are you looking forward to? Let me know.